Voor de formatie, een van de kwesties waar een nieuw kabinet zich over moet buigen, is de aanschaf van de Joint Strike Fighter. De PvdA is na de nodige aarzelingen nu onomwonden tegen. Vooral vanwege de geluidsoverlast en het steeds afschrikwekkender prijskaartje. Maar in Amerika is er ook twijfel over het toestel. De JSF moet een hele reeks toestellen vervangen en ongeveer alles kunnen. Luchtgevechten, bombarderen, grondtroepen steunen. Maar kan hij dat wel? Een verslag uit Phoenix, Arizona van Merel Miedema en Willem Lust.
Luke Air Force Base, een F-16 trainingsbasis in Arizona in de woestijn tegen de stad Phoenix aan. De komst van de JSF is voor deze regio van levensbelang.
The training wing here would sustain Arizona, the region, and especially the West Valley for the next 40 years. You better want it here.
So you gotta love it.
You're right, I love it.
De oude liefde, de F-16, gaat geleidelijk met pensioen en de JSF is de vervanger. Maar de kritiek op de JSF wordt scherper. En zo zie je dat de Amerikaanse publieke opinie moet worden gemasseerd met sfeervolle reclamespotjes.
Because of one word, imagination and reality have merged.
You think it's a turkey?
Of course it's a turkey. I mean, there's not the shadow of a doubt that it's a turkey.
Because of one word, a new generation.
It's too heavy and sluggish to be successful as a fighter.
It can't turn. It's hugely flammable and vulnerable to any form of gunfire, right? The stealth doesn't work. The stealth is a total delusion.
A fifth generation of fighter aircraft has been born.
If we ever face an enemy with a serious air force, we will be in deep trouble.
Because of one word.
And it carries a pitifully small load. For all this money, for this huge amount of money, it basically carries 2 large bombs, you know, or 4 smaller ones. It's ludicrous.
America's air dominance for the next 40 years is assured.
As a close air support aircraft, which the F-35 is also supposed to be, it's a complete disaster. It can't perform the mission.
That one word is how.
Hoe? Vooral, hoe gaan we dat betalen? In Washington gaat de discussie vooral over de astronomische prijs van de JSF. Een van de scherpste critici van de think tank Center for Defense Information is Winslow T. Wheeler.
And that's just a way station on the cost. That cost is going up. Just as Lockheed was full of baloney when it promised your country it could buy F-35s for $50 million a copy. It's also full of baloney at the current price of $155 million per airplane. That cost is going up.
Belangrijk daarnaast, wat krijg je ervoor?
It simply doesn't have adequate maneuverability for defeating missiles and for defeating ground fire. It's appallingly bad because it's such a delicate airplane. You know, I mean, it's basically, you know, a huge engine surrounded by fuel. It's fuel wrapped entirely around. Think of it as a blowtorch with fuel around it. And they've done very little to protect against fire, and there's very little you can do because a .22 rifle can penetrate the skin of the airplane and light the thing on fire. In fact, just now, they dropped some major safety precautions with respect to fire because they were in weight trouble. They had too much weight, and they made an argument that the airplane was fine. We don't need these extra fire safety precautions, so we'll drop them.
Maar de JSF heeft ook steun, al was het alleen maar vanwege de economische impuls van het project. In Phoenix, Arizona lijkt iedereen een JSF F-35-fan te zijn. Vooral in de omgeving van Luke Air Force Base. Hier zien ze de JSF graag komen.
Oh, would be great. I mean, as a transition from F-16 to F-35 would be vital. I mean, it's something that the community could directly benefit from, and then, you know, us being so close to the base, it would be great to have the F-35 here.
Als de JSF hier niet zou komen, zou bijvoorbeeld de trofeeënhandel totaal instorten.
Yeah, this is a larger F-16. We'll have their little call sign right up here. This one's for the 310th top hats. They're always ordering awards. Usually it's 4 times a year, quarterly, and then the annual awards usually get something a little bigger.
So that's important for your business?
Yeah, it's huge. We have a really good relationship with the base, and yeah, it's vital.
De JSF trainingsschool betekent 40 jaar werkgelegenheid. Er wordt nu om gestreden door de staten Florida, New Mexico en Arizona.
The Air Force doesn't particularly like me saying this, but if Luke Air Force Base does not get the F-35, I believe Luke Air Force Base will close within 10 years. And that would mean a loss of the economic engine that's $2.3 billion. Right now, all the cities are facing high foreclosure rates. People are walking away from homes. If that base closes, you're going to see an exodus from the West Valley like you've never seen before.
Er wordt dus flink gelobbyd. En Arizona heeft, om zichzelf te promoten, een duidelijk kostbare video laten maken.
To train the world's greatest F-16 fighter pilots and maintainers while deploying mission-ready warfighters. That is the mission of Luke Air Force Base.
The F-35 will replace 5 airframes, and those 5 airframes are currently training all over the United States. Losing those 5 airplanes and focusing on one, obviously there's a lot of bases that would love to have the F-35 mission, and we feel that it's most appropriate for Luke Air Force Base.
De vraag hoe goed de JSF is met zulke grote economische belangen niet relevant meer. De JSF is brood op de plank.
The majority of the voices you hear telling you that it's a fabulous airplane are people who have a personal interest, either to get promoted or to make money. So of course, if you have this huge amount of money, you'll get a huge number of people who will tell you it's a great airplane. You know? And then the rest are people who are, I mean, there are lots of people who perfectly honestly think that the JSF is a fine airplane, but they're simply people who are totally amateurish about what it takes to make airplanes that fight. You know? They're people who don't pay attention to the evidence of war.
Pierre Sprey weet wel iets van vliegtuigen. In de jaren 60 en 70 legde hij de basis voor een hele generatie zeer succesvolle toestellen. Hij was de ontwerper van de F-16 en van de tweemotorige F-15. En hij was de geestelijk vader van de A-10, een soort vliegend kanon, lelijk, onverwoestbaar, zeer effectief en goedkoop. Sprey ziet de JSF als een opeenstapeling van denkfouten en misvattingen. Bijvoorbeeld, het toestel zou onzichtbaar zijn voor radar.
The problem is that there's no such thing as one radar in a war, right? There's lots of radars. And you can't be nose on or dead level to every radar in the theater. There's always going to be radars that are shining up like this, or from above, wherever, right? They can all see you because there's too much area. You can't, the shaping, first of all, the shaping doesn't work at all once you're, say, 15 degrees off the nose, right? And the absorption, the thing that makes the stealth airplanes so unbelievably expensive to fly, is that you have to have the skin absolutely perfect and the slightest pebble scratch has to be fixed. And then you have to put sealing compounds between all the doors and all the joints, you know. On the F-15, almost half the maintenance is on the stealth, you know. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's a ludicrous impediment to combat, you know. Here you're sitting on the ground for 50 hours, you know, fiddling around with trying to make the airplane stealthy when it's not stealthy anyhow.
En die keuze voor stealth was ook de keuze voor een bepaalde vorm.
You can see how fat the fuselage is. It's kind of an ugly airplane. Most great airplanes, not all of them, are quite beautiful, quite sleek. And for good reason, because you're trying to reduce drag. But here, because of stealth, they had to make the fuselage very bulbous, very big, because they have to carry the weapons inside. As soon as you carry the weapons outside, they reflect to radar. A huge penalty to the performance of the airplane. And you get big and fat and lumbering like a bomber, and it is a bomber.
It's not a fighter.
It's not a fighter. It doesn't turn well enough.
Maar de bouwers van de JSF zien de logheid niet als een probleem.
We have all this electronics. We can detect a missile, we can jam any missile, right? Not a chance they'll get us. And then when it comes down to it, you can't turn and you're a dead duck. It's useless. It's truly monumentally useless. It will ruin any Air Force that uses it. It will take the capability, whatever capability that Air Force has based on old F-16s or F-18s, and it will degrade that Air Force further. The pilots will fly worse because they'll get less training, which is the most important part. That's more important than any technical issue. There'll be far less pilots because the whole force will have to shrink. And you'll basically have a showpiece Air Force that can't do anything.
Maar in het politieke gevecht rond de JSF is de kwaliteit geen hoofdzaak.
Congress has lost the ability to make informed discriminations about weapon systems other than the politics of the weapon system and the pork of the weapon system. In other words, where it's built and who's got a piece of the production and the workforce and so on. And of course, the contributions that come from Lockheed and Pratt & Whitney and all the manufacturers.
The future is the F-35, and to be questioning what the future would look like without the F-35, I think is a very serious issue that you would have to really step back and say, well, if not the F-35, what?
If the Dutch Prime Minister would call you very soon. He said, Mr. Spray, I've got a problem. What should I do about the F-35? What would you tell him?
Run. Get away from that airplane. It's going to ruin your Air Force.
Cancel it and overhaul your F-16s. They're still the best fighter in the world.